Thank you, family. Sit down just for a moment. We're about to let you leave this place, but for just a moment, I want to share a couple things with you from my heart to yours. When I look back in life and I think about what it takes to be faithful, some practical things. So if you've been in one of my mentoring groups, or maybe you've just heard me share, sometimes you'll hear me share a phrase: press into community. Press into community. Here's the deal. In your calling, the work is hard. There's not a lot of resources. There's not a lot of compensation and validation. But the calling is a high calling. The call to faithfulness is so needed. The kids you're working with, the kids that you shepherd, the kids that you disciple, they've been let down by so many people that should have done a healthier, better job modeling for them what a healthy adult looks like. And so they can't afford for another leader to go down due to moral failure or due to character that just doesn't have enough depth and consistency. And so I want to remind you that one of the things that helped me was to press into community. And so here's what it looks like. You see, the enemy is trying to always isolate leaders. He knows that if he can keep you out there isolated and not connected to a family like this or a ministry that's trying to invest in you and pour into you, he knows that over time he can get you depleted and he can get you drained, so that on a weekday, W-E-A-K, you might punk out. You might settle to medicate your needs in some unhealthy ways. He wants to take you out. And so here's one of the things that I've tried to practice in the different stages of life all these years, 27 years of marriage, 4 kids, trying to grow this ministry, trying to serve awesome leaders like you. When it gets hard, when you feel tempted, when you feel like you want to punk out, tap out, you're on the verge of burnout, you got to press into community. I can't tell you how many leaders are out there that think they don't need to step into community or be at a place like this to get poured into. They're out there slugging away, they're sacrificing, they're doing all the right external stuff, but they won't call time out to press into community. So here's what it looks like. Next time you feel tempted, you got to pick up your 100-pound telephone and you got to call that one sister, that one brother that you know has your back, loves you, believes in you, and cares for you. That pastor friend of mine, Pastor Ed, was here this morning in the morning session. He couldn't stay for this afternoon session because I was going to put him on blast and make Ed stand up. So true story, just last week, I was feeling the weight of everything to get ready for the conference. And it's not me, it's all the whole staff. Everybody was working hard. And I was feeling the tension and the weight of it all. And I picked up the 100-pound telephone and I said, Ed, can we meet? He said, Larry, I can't believe you reached out to want to meet this week. I know you have so much on your plate for next week. I'd be honored to meet with you. We met, and he just starts praying over me, listening. I want you to know, if you're going to last in ministry, you got to press. You have to have the habit of choosing to press into community. You can't do this thing alone. The enemy's gonna try to lie to you and tell you, you got this, you got this. Let me just tell you straight up, you don't got this. You gotta press into community. Press into community. And when the enemy gets you to those depleted places, you gotta pick up. You have to initiate. Do not expect someone else to read your mind to know to call you. You have to lead yourself first. I don't care who you are. You're a senior lead pastor. You're a youth worker, a youth counselor, a school teacher, a coach, an after-school program director, whatever your role is in the kingdom. If you want a faith that will last, press in to community. Lastly, fight for your family. Fight for your family. This ministry thing is, it's never ending. Urban ministry, there's so many needs, so many broken lives, it's never done. And so if you don't fight for your family, no one else will. And so don't lose your family on the altar of ministry. And so there's a lot of young families here. I'm so glad you young parents are here. When I was in that phase, man, with young kids, our first two were 14 months apart. Brock, when he was in a playpen, the first UYWI event, he wasn't even one yet, and he was in a playpen. I would run into this small little session, welcome everybody, introduce, connect, introduce the speaker. I'd run off the stage and check on Brock in the playpen, because Jamie was at another event with Karis. We had two young kids, and that's how it started. Some of you young leaders are in that stage, that early stage of life. Don't quit. Married couples, don't give all your energy to the ministry and then to your own children and not save anything for your marriage. Remember, you were a family first, and you need to take that care for one another. And I know it's hard. I know the drain. And the enemy comes in and puts a wedge in those young marriages, and it's hard. Been there. My heart goes out to you. That's a rough season. Don't quit. Fight for your family and for your marriage. There was a season at UYWI. During that season, there was a lot of travel. We used to do a lot of these training events in cities. At one point, 32 cities around the country. It was a nuts time. Our budget was double what it was now. The staff was over 20-something people. It was killing me to raise the money to run all these events. Honestly, it was taking a drain on our family. There's a picture of my family right here. And one of the disciplines I had to fight for my family on the road was that I would take this picture out of my Bible. Every time I got to a different city and in the hotel room, I would put this on the nightstand right by the lamp, leaning up so I could see it. Because I felt like in the drain of ministry and the demands that the Lord was saying, son, don't watch anything on that television that would demean your wife, Jamie, and the 4 awesome children I gave to you. Fight for your marriage, son. Fight for your family. The same dude that you're trying to be when you're up front of youth workers, I want you to be that same type of dude when nobody sees you. Character matters. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there were times on the road, all of Jamie's energy with 4 kids by that time was going into the kids. And I'd maybe be hanging out with some of you leaders, and then I'd be running to the airport trying to catch a flight, and Jamie and I hadn't had enough time just to be together, the two of us, and I would leave to another city, sometimes weak and vulnerable. Sometimes the enemy would come and try to bring that temptation to get me to punk out, and the discipline to pull that out, put that picture by the nightstand. And again, he would say, son, I know you're depleted. I want you to finish well, though. Fight for your family. I want you to not watch anything on this television tonight that's gonna undermine what I've given you. So today, I want to invite you to continue to be those faithful kind of leaders. Press into community. You can't do this alone. When you're tempted, when you know you're depleted and you're about to do something you know that is not where God wants for you, but it's what the flesh desires, it's what lust is pushing you toward, pick up the 100-pound telephone, rat yourself out to a friend you know who loves you. You got to set that up and have that plan in place before the temptation comes. So when you leave this place, you might have to have a talk with one of those leaders and say, yo, I want to finish well. I want to be a faithful leader. We don't need another leader to punk out, burn out, boil dry. Hey, I just want you to know the next time I feel that temptation, I'm going to start developing a habit to press into community and to call you. And we're going to talk about when I call, I just need grace. I need your prayer. I need your compassion. Would you commit to having a brother or sister in your life? Men, a brother, ladies, a dear sister that would be that safe person of grace to rat yourself out to. Would you commit to do that so that you'll remain faithful? I want you to choose to do that. And then fight for your family and your marriage. Embrace one another. Let there be intimacy and closeness. The enemy's gonna try to put a wedge and to keep you from being faithful. Choose to love and to forgive and to move forward with some of those pains and frustrations. And I leave you with this. As you roll out today, this has been the gathering of the faithful. It's been an awesome 3 days, man. I just feel like we had an audience with Jesus. Wasn't it so cool how every speaker that came up here was uniquely called by God? They had a message for all of us. So beautiful. But as you leave this place, do you think you could say that you could be faithful to the call of God on your life for one more year? One more year. I'm not getting you to say 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But do you think you could be faithful to the call of God on your life for one more year? And then next year at the National Conference, you come back. We'll pour into you some more. We pour into you every week. If you'll download the app, we send training and these messages from the workshops to the main stage to you every week to keep pouring into you. So you gotta make sure you use the app and have it accessible. But could you think next year you could come back again? And I'll ask you again before you leave, can you do one more year? I'll get you to re-up maybe by God's call and by God's grace for one more year. Do you think you could do that? So here's how I want to close it out just before the band comes. If you will commit to one more year to this so important work that you do to reach urban kids growing up in the hardest parts of our cities, I want you to stand up. And all I want you to say is, yell it out, I'm still in. Say it again. Say it one more time. Father, you'd heard the declarations of your children that they're still in. And they're saying, God, they're willing to follow you wherever you call them. But you know, Lord, the challenges will be great. But your power is greater. And so, Lord, would you give them the grace and the strength to follow your call above the noise of culture, above the temptation of the enemy, above the brokenness in our lives. And Lord, would you gather these faithful servant leaders again next year so that we could be poured into and reconnect with our cousins and ministry co-laborers around the globe. And Father, would you day by day, week by week, year by year, build a people who are faithful to you, oh God, that reflect your love and grace to a generation of unreached youth that so desperately need to know you as Father. And would you be pleased to use your sons and daughters in that way? God, we are still in. May you make us faithful. And all God's children said, amen.